Africa in space? I'm sure you haven't heard that before, but it seems it is going to be a term that we'll be getting used to in the near future. Did you know that South Africa, Angola and Algeria have a satellite in space, and now Kenya has entered the race with the blasting off of its Taifa 1 or One Nation rocket? WION spoke exclusively to the engineer at the Kenya Space Agency. His name is Lieutenant Colonel Andrew Nyawade, on what other African countries need to do to better their space exploration capabilities. Watch this next report.
3, 2, 1, ignition, engines full power, and liftoff of Transporter 7. Go Falcon, go Transporter.
Kenya's first operational satellite is launched into orbit by a SpaceX rocket called Taifa 1 or Nation 1. The satellite was designed and developed by a team of Kenyan researchers. The space agency says the satellite was put together with the help of Bulgarian aerospace company Indurosat at a cost of 50 million Kenyan shillings or approximately $372,000 over 2 years. The agency says it will operate for 5 years and then decay in over 20 years, entering the atmosphere and burning out.
Okay, the main challenge we faced was lack of facilities locally to develop the systems, because this requires a clean room facilities, it requires manufacturing, assembly, integration, and test facilities. Currently, we don't have in Kenya. And then there's also, arising from the COVID-19 pandemic, a shortage of electronic components. This delayed the project timeline. But overall, budget constraints limited us to the type of mission to develop.
21 years after the first African satellite, Sunsat-1, was launched into space by South Africa in 1999, the industry has accelerated with hundreds of millions of dollars investment into it. The last 7 years have been very successful for the African space scene. A total of 20 launches have taken place since 2016, totaling 41 satellites being sent into space. Egypt leads the way with 9 launch satellites, followed by South Africa with 8, Algeria with 7, Nigeria with 6, and Morocco with 3. Ghana, Sudan, Ethiopia, Angola, Kenya, Rwanda, and Mauritius complete the list.
Okay, the aspirations in space exploration vary from national prestige to scientific knowledge and advancing technological capability. And for Africa, I believe with the current priorities now being on food security, natural resources monitoring, meteorology, disaster risk mitigation, and I'll call it communications, would now be the priority focus areas.
In January 2016, African heads of states and governments adopted the Africa Space Policy and Strategy to facilitate growth and development across the continent using space science and technology. The African Space Policy and Strategy promises to initiate space capabilities on Earth observation systems, navigation and positioning, satellite communication, and space science and exploration. Some African countries have also developed national space policies and strategies. In some countries, academic programs have also commenced in areas such as astronomy, remote sensing, space weather, and satellite communication.
We are creating awareness, policymakers, academia, to the public on the benefits of space. This now will enable us now, one, get support for more funding, and two, sensitize the public to support these programs, because without public support, the funding is usually a challenge for most countries. So for Kenya Space Agency, we are looking at increasing our investment both for the country and for the region, and I believe there's a greater benefit for us.
But the challenge is that there are few jobs for the graduates. Africa eventually loses them to countries where their knowledge and skills are better used. Critics say it is key that African countries continue to increase their investment in the space sector. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.